Be careful, y'all. It's a public safety emergency. Someone spray painted mean words in Mesquite. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. That's not hyperbole. Here's a report from WFAA to get you kicked off. By the way, you can't see what they're about to report on, but let me give you the context and you'll fill it in the theater of the mind when I play the audio here. And what is spray painted is something that's been just gone over once. It's not like when you see the good graffiti on the wall where they block out the letters and then they fill them in and you can read it from, a whole block away. This was on the frontage road on 635 in a part of Mesquite that doesn't even have buildings next to it. It's not like this was in front of a gas station or someone's house or a nudie bookstore or all the other shady businesses they seem to have in that little stretch there. But no one could see this unless you were just driving on the frontage road. And I guess maybe if you were looking, but I mean, it's just a once over and it's white spray paint on a fairly light gray frontage road. And so I am suspicious that this could even be seen from a car and you're like, well, what does that mean? And you'll fill it in, but here's WFAA to get us kicked off here.
In the middle of this large road in Mesquite, hate speech spray painted down the center, promoting white supremacy. Wording and historically hateful symbols sprawling.
First off, I'm going to correct this thing every step of the way because I love it when WFAA gets it right and I give them credit and I'll say there's a great report or fantastic reporting. You hear me say that all the time. This was not in the middle of the road. This was on the frontage road way off to the side to where there's like no cars going. So she acts like this was in the middle of the action. You think it would be on like the barrier that's between the two middle lanes. No. This was off on the side on a frontage road that almost nobody's on. Like when she's standing in front of it, there's no cars on this frontage road.
Large road in Mesquite, hate speech spray painted down the center, promoting white supremacy.
It's an empty road on the side.
And historically hateful symbols sprawling down northbound I-635 East Frontage Road. After an anonymous caller tipped off our newsroom, we arrived in Mesquite, immediately met with 5 racist messages. We called the city, who rushed this truck to the area to verify what we said we were witnessing. Their team sending us a statement in response, reading, quote, "The city of Mesquite is disappointed to learn the hateful messaging spray painted along a state highway in our community. It is unfortunate that anyone would choose to express themselves in this manner. Because this is a Texas Department of Transportation road, the area is under TxDOT's jurisdiction, and we are working with them to address this unacceptable act," end quote.
They're trying to psychologically intimidate people, and they really feel emboldened right now.
That's Jeff Tischhauser, senior research analyst with Southern Poverty Law Center. Their team working in partnership with communities to dismantle white supremacy.
It's just this false sense of superiority. Nonetheless, they use that false sense and do a lot of damage in our communities.
According to 2024 census data, Mesquite's population is black by majority. And according to officials, if those responsible for this incident were found and charged, it could be anything from vandalism to a hate crime. In Mesquite, I'm Erin Heft.
Why on earth are we talking to anybody from the Southern Poverty Law Center about anything ever again? Remember, Southern Poverty Law Center was shown to be funding these hate groups in these instances. Listen to this.
This group that was supposed to be fighting racism, in fact, was fomenting racism by paying these groups to basically organize protests that SPLC could then point to and say that America has a huge racism problem, donate to us.
Okay, so let's go back to my original skepticism. I challenge you to go to that frontage road and see if you can read that from your car. I don't think you can. So what do I think happened? I think this is an inside job. I don't have any proof, but it's been your observation, has been my observation, that more often than not, these hate crime stories that flash in the media for a day or two, when all the dust settles, turns out to be more often than not a hoax. Not all of them are a hoax. It's not impossible that there's some idiot white racist out there who wants to go out and write white power on a frontage road. I don't know if that's very effective. I don't know why they would do that. I don't know why they would risk, being caught in their job. So here's a couple of points from the news story. They didn't tell you actually what was written. Did you know in this story that they just spent a minute and a half on, which is huge, huge in a newscast? I didn't even see the N-word. In fact, I didn't even really see anything that was so offensive it couldn't be said on TV. They showed 4 of them, and they said there was 5 different writings. So I know what 4 of them are. One of them said white power. One of them said white, and then there was a swastika under it, and then there was power under that. So that was a different spray painting, but it was just a once-over, and it's not even that big. There was another one that said kill all non-whites. Who says that? Like that. Is there any white racists out there, like any actual white supremacists out there that can call into the show? Because I've never heard them say that before. And that smells like the Jussie Smollett thing where like they said this is MAGA country. No one talks like that. No one's ever said that before. I know MAGA people. I've never heard that come out of anyone with a MAGA hat. But the kill all non-whites. When has anyone ever said that? And then there's a 4th one that said Jingles is God. I don't know what that means. It was like Mr. Jingles from the Green Mile, but I don't see how that... I don't know what that means. If you know what that means, Jingles is God. In fact, I even tried to Google it before the show, came up with nothing. Came up with a bunch of non sequiturs. So can anyone explain that to me? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. But coming up, we're going to continue breaking down this report because I have all kinds of questions. First off, by what journalistic standard is a white power being spray painted in a road a news story? And then we'll look at all the news that instead of spending 90 seconds on this, maybe they could have spent 30 seconds on this and a minute on some of these other stories that they're ignoring that are a lot more consequential than spray painting an abrasive phrase. You know, people getting stabbed and shot and raped, all that good stuff. Oh, no, but look out for the spray paint. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Remember before you had pain? Remember when you were, maybe not totally athletic. You weren't like DeMarvion Overshawn coming over the middle, but you were a lot more agile than you are now. And now your kids are growing up and they're having kids. And you really only have this narrow window of a few years where you get to play with your grandkids. And for someone listening right now, QC Kinetics is going to be the difference in staying on the porch and watching your grandkids from the shade or getting out there and playing tag with them, getting out there and running through the sprinklers with them, getting out there and playing catch with your grandson. You only have a little window of time. Make it count as much as possible. Find out if QC Kinetics can give you that quality of life back, can give you that quality of life going forward that can never be replaced. But it starts with you making the first phone call. The consultation's free, doesn't cost you anything to find out if it works for you. But you do have to make the first move. Pick up the phone, call 972-972-8610. 972-972-8610. Look out, there's mean words on a frontage road, spray painted where no one can see it in Mesquite, but somehow it makes top news. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Remember, Donald Trump's coming to town on September 10th. The Republican midterm convention is September 9th and 10th. On those 2 days, just turn it here whenever you hear it. But you know what's going on here. For those of you just joining us, there's a story that is just got the entire local media on its heels here. Someone wrote white power in white spray paint, which I guess kind of goes along with the theme there. Good branding. On a frontage road on 635 in Mesquite. And I don't mean it like in a busy part. There's not even a building. This is one of the few places where 635 actually doesn't have something built next to it. And if you see how faint and small and barely visible it is, you should immediately be suspicious. Because even if there was a racist person who went out there and spray painted this, you have to ask yourself a couple questions. Why would they do it there, where no one lives, where no one works, where no one is employed? No one's even guaranteed to see it. What would you do? Did you call it in yourself and then just hope the media would amplify it? Was this an inside job? What do you think is more likely, that this was an inside job or there actually was a white supremacist out there? And then in the media, the coverage of it was really weird too. They immediately start with the lies, like, "Wow, this is," you know what? You mind if I just stop through the whole package and just address all these things one by one? Because this is the narrative with a little TM next to it, but it's such a stretch. If you are concerned about, mean things happening to some of our neighbors of color, we have all kinds of shootings and stabbings and rapes and actual violent crime out there, not just a mean word from spray paint, but it's not even the N word. It's just white power. That's all it takes to make the news. White power. All right, let's walk through this. Hang on.
In the middle of this large road in Mesquite.
It's not in the middle of the large road. It's on the side road, on the tiniest part of 635, the frontage road, where it's not in front of any houses, any businesses. I see, looks like a couple of mesquite trees there.
Mesquite, hate speech spray painted down the center, promoting white supremacy.
Okay, so hate speech. Is white power, I guess, is hate speech? What about Latina power? Is that hate speech? They were selling that at the Smithsonian up until a month ago. Latina, is that hate speech? Is black power, is that hate speech? It's only hate speech if it's white people. Okay. All right, so interesting standard we have here, but continue, please.
Wording and historically hateful symbols sprawling down northbound I-635 East Frontage Road.
By the way, the hateful symbols, there was one swastika in one place. I mean, we're really stretching it here. It said white power twice. It said Jingles is God, and it said kill all non-whites. That's it. There's no N-word. There's no ethnic slurs.
After an anonymous caller tipped off our newsroom, we arrived in Mesquite.
An anonymous caller tipped off your newsroom. You should be really suspicious of that. Because the Southern Poverty Law Center already has a record of fomenting events just so they can get hyperbolic racist coverage from the media. And the media falls for it every time.
Immediately met with 5 racist messages. We called the city, who rushed this truck to the area to verify what we said we were witnessing. Their team sending us a statement in response, reading, quote, "The city of Mesquite is disappointed to learn the hateful messaging spray painted along a state highway in our community. It is unfortunate that anyone would choose to express themselves in this manner. Because this is a Texas Department of Transportation road, the area is under TxDOT's jurisdiction, and we are working with them to address this unacceptable act."
All right, that's a good response from the city of Mesquite.
End quote.
They're trying to psychologically.
So now she's talking to a guy from the Southern Poverty Law Center. And the guy from the Southern Poverty Law Center, we don't even know who did it. We don't know if it's legit. We don't know if it was a black activist. Dominic Alexander. Benjamin Crump could have gone out there and spray painted this. We don't know. And even if it was a white guy, was it some 17-year-old kid who thought it would be funny and he's not really racist? He just likes to see people get their sand in their drawers. Just trying to be nice here. But no, he already knows who it is, and he can read their mind too.
End quote.
They're trying to psychologically intimidate people, and they really feel emboldened right now.
That's Jeff Tischhauser, senior research analyst with Southern Poverty Law Center.
If that's what they were trying to do, would they have done it out in the middle of nowhere where no one could see it? Wouldn't they at least do it on a wall where someone driving by or walking by could see it? Jingles is God. I don't even know what that means. How does that scare anybody? You don't even know. You don't even know if that's racist. That might just be a gibberish term.
Their team working in partnership with communities to dismantle white supremacy.
It's just this false sense of superiority. Nonetheless, they use that false sense and do a lot of damage in our communities.
Who is damaged by this? They use this false sense to do a lot of damage. What damage has been done by the white power crowd? I don't even know one. You don't even know one. There's not one person in a position of power that's been elected. We have more jihadis elected to positions of power in America than white power people.
According to 2024 census data, Mesquite's population is black by majority. And
all right, 2024 census population. Let's go look it up. The blacks the majority? No, it's not. Okay, well, maybe they're not a majority, but they're a plurality, which means they're not more than 50%, but they're more than all other races. No, actually, blacks are just 26% of the population. Hispanics are 47% of the population. So, no, you got that one wrong. How do you get that? Who told you that? Did you look that up and just, I read that wrong? Because that's some weird incompetence you got going there. Did someone tell you wrong? What was it, the SPLC guy? Who told you wrong? Stop listening to them. But no, they needed that in there just to make it sound even worse. Yes, they're targeting blacks. Because you and I both know that if you wanted to target black people with racist graffiti, Mesquite is not the first place you would go. 26.6% of Mesquite is black. Why would you, if you were targeting them, why would you start there? Anyway, we continue here.
according to officials, if those responsible for this incident were found and charged, it could be anything from vandalism to a hate crime. In Mesquite, I'm Erin Heft.
There you go. That's the rundown. The supply for racism is nowhere near the demand for racism. And boy, do they have to stretch so hard to try and make you think that we live in a white supremacist society. If this was a racist society full of systemic racism, would this make the news? Would this make the news and be condemned roundly by everybody? By the government officials in the city of Mesquite, by the political activists that you had on, by the journalist that is making the report. She was too scared to even say the words and share with it, even though there was no cuss words and there was no racial slurs in there. They were too scared to even voice it on TV. Does that sound like systemic racism? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, some crimes that they ignored in order to bring you this spray painting scary story. Coming up on The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Just kind of having fun with one of the top stories in the local media today. Someone wrote white power in spray paint on a frontage road in Mesquite where pretty much nobody saw it, but just hyperbolically, just breathlessly reporting, oh, we got to do something to fight the systemic. Shut up. Let me show you some of the other things, because not only did they report on it, they spent a minute and a half on it, which is what you spend on like the Iran war when it starts. This is way too much attention to what could be perceived as racist graffiti. Some other stories that are going on right now. Did you hear about the two employees that got into a fight? They were working at a U-Haul rental in the Nashville metro area. Got in an argument over a drink from the soda machine, if I recall correctly. And when the white guy turned around and walked off, the black guy pulled out a gun, shot him in the back, and murdered him in the spot. Now, it gets reported there. Any concern about the racial antipathy here?
Metro police just arrested a suspect accused of killing his co-worker at a U-Haul facility in West Nashville. Devin Rice is charged with criminal homicide. That shooting happened last night near the shopping complex off Annex Avenue. Officers say Rice got into an argument with the victim before opening fire.
Yes, but interracial relations are a problem these days because white people are spray painting mean stuff in streets that no one's going to see. Here's another one. There's a woman who was delivering DoorDash. She's a mother of three. 1 a.m. She's out hustling for a second job, put food on the table. She honks at a guy who is sitting still at a green light in front of her. He pulls out he waits for her to finish her delivery, pulls out a baseball bat, and beats her in the head and puts her in the hospital.
Just being upset that I had honked the horn behind him at a light.
Saturday morning, Kristen Phillips says she was hit in the head with a wooden bat while making DoorDash deliveries. The blow knocked her unconscious.
When the guy hit me in the head and I was knocked out, I believe he thought I was dead and he left me for dead. And it's a miracle that I woke up.
Phillips says the incident started around 1 o'clock in the morning after she honked at a driver who was stopped at a green traffic light on Gum Branch Road. She says the driver then began tailgating her, blocked her vehicle, and attacked her after she returned from a delivery on Shamrock Road.
They immediately just took me back into a room because I guess I was covered in blood at that point. I was so gone. I didn't know.
All right. There's another one. Do I need to continue? Did you hear about the guy that was running around in Charlotte beating up white ladies and they finally caught him? He was yelling racial slurs, actually. Doesn't make the national news, though. That's so weird. And the crazy part is he was live streaming it on Instagram. I can't play you the audio because every other word would be a beep. But he made a reference toward Trump in it. So here's the lesson. Is this a white supremacist country if white people can run around and beat up black women in the street or beat white women with a baseball bat for honking at them or murdering them at work for arguing over a soda at the U-Haul in Nashville? I mean, you can come here locally. We have similar stories all over the place. There's more. I could do more. I think my point still stands, though. In the conflicts between the races, to act like we have a big problem with white people misbehaving and being mean to black people, it's insane. You're reporting on spray painted white power. So you could just spray paint white power somewhere in public, and that's newsworthy. That's how rare white racism is in America. If it was really everywhere, if it really was systemic, would it make the news? This is Ken in Arlington. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
James, you can't yell racism where racism doesn't exist. I mean, what they're doing in Mesquite is they're saying that the Trojan horse theory rolled up in Mesquite and a bunch of white people jumped out with spray paint and started spraying graffiti. That's a lie. They know it's a lie. They went with it anyways.
So do you think it's a hoax?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just like me going to Walmart, going down the cracker aisle, and every race in the world is walking up and down the cracker aisle and me yelling racist. It's stupid.
Well, it made the news.
It made the news because the news projects everything. The news takes every little thing and makes it just like the Benjamin Crumb and Al Sharpton thing. The news contributes to the pimp race hustlers, and they should be ashamed of themselves for doing it because that causes nothing but more racism.
Good stuff. All right, Ken in Arlington, good to hear from you, bud. We got a response from a national political pundit named Cartman.
It's on! Race war! Race war! Race war! Race war's on, everybody! It's going down! It's going down!
The truth is, white people are not driven by racism. I mean, I'm sure there's some racist white people out there, but I think it's dumb. Almost all of us think it's dumb. No one in a position of political power, no one has ever won an election in your entire lifetime raising their hand and saying, hey, I'm racist. And if we're having to stoop so low to clutch pearls over white power being spray painted in an unimportant frontage road out in the middle of nowhere, Mesquite, I think we've got this racism thing pretty well solved and under wraps. All right, coming up next on The James Show, Lancaster High School, I should say, had a 100% graduation rate. Really? Really? There's not one dumb kid. There's not one slow kid. There's not one kid that kind of got behind and procrastinated too much and didn't get all his work. Is that even believable? We'll break that down next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Can a school really have a 100% graduation rate? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Remember, when you wake up, start your day with the WBAP morning show. Good guys. So for our next story, we're going over to our neighbors in Lancaster. And Lancaster supposedly... Look, I don't mean this to insult the fine people of Lancaster, your children, the students, the faculty, the school. Just mathematically speaking, can I have a little skepticism here in the idea that a school as big as Lancaster didn't have one kid that failed last year?
Lancaster ISD is building on some serious momentum this year. Lancaster High School has a 100% graduation rate. In fact, we were there for the ceremony and the celebration last year. The Texas Education Agency rated the district 96 out of 100 for financial integrity. And last May, voters approved all 4 bond elections worth $376 million. Ahead on Daybreak at 6:30, we'll get to talk to the...
All right, so let's talk about that. What are the odds that you have a school that big that doesn't have one dummy in it? And it doesn't have to be like dumb, like, I don't know how to do my homework. It could be somebody that skipped a whole lot of school and got behind. It could be someone who's a big procrastinator and they got like a bunch of zeros. And so now they're just going to fail that one class for the year, which means that they're going to have to repeat that class and be held back. Not one person. And I don't know how big Lancaster is now, but when I was growing up at Bug Tussle High School, we were in the same size. We were 4A back in the day. I remember we beat them in the playoffs in 1989 when we went on our state championship run, but that's neither here nor there. Sometimes I like to rub it in, but I know how big this school is. I went to a school that was the same size. Let me tell you something. There were a lot of people that failed out of my class. But even just statistically speaking, can you have a class of 100 people or 200 people or 300 people and all of them graduate, but it's all on the up and up? Because something else that has bothered you about public schools and really the entire academic approach and the way it's portrayed in the media, whenever you hear these stories about how X number of students can't read on their grade level, well, then why are they on their grade? Why didn't they get held back? If you read on a 6th grade level, what are you doing in 7th grade? Much less high school. All of those people, all of the kids that graduated from Lancaster last year, they can all read on a 12th grade level and they can all do math on a 12th grade level. You know what? I'll take your word for it. Good for you. Good for you, Lancaster. I mean, that is beating the odds. The odds of that are astronomical. You don't have one dummy. Because here's what's really going on, too. You and I both know not everyone deserved a diploma. Not everyone is living up to the high standards of being able to read at a 12th grade level, write at a 12th grade level, do math at a 12th grade level. We know what's really going on. They just pass people. Wasn't that disappointing when you graduated? I remember Bug Tussle High School. I graduated with, I think it was 189 people, if I remember correctly, in my graduating class. So not exactly a tiny school, definitely not like the big behemoths we have here in DFW. But I remember at the graduation ceremony, we're in Bug Tussle Junior College in their Apache Gymnasium. And I was looking around like, some of these people do not deserve to get a diploma. I know these people. I've known these people since I was in kindergarten. I think I had a friend. Her name starts with an F. I'll leave it right there. I think she's on the cusp of mentally retarded. And I don't mean that mean. She's a nice person. She's a good person. I've known her. I know her family. I know her siblings. But it used to boggle my mind that every year F got to pass and go into the next grade with us. I saw her attempt to read when we were in high school. I remember my senior year, she was in our homeroom class. And we were amazed that she was allowed in the high school. We were amazed that she was allowed into any school. Again, not a bad person. But when you see people like that just being passed, even though they don't deserve it, even though their merit doesn't rise to the occasion, that really just diminishes the accomplishments for everyone else. When I graduated high school, when you graduated high school, you looked to your left, you looked to your right, you looked at the people who are also getting a diploma, and you knew that doesn't mean anything. That high school diploma means nothing. And so part of the reason everyone has to go to college and to feel like they've accomplished something is because graduating high school means nothing. If everyone can graduate, then it means nothing. Am I being too hard on Lancaster? Or do you really think that the statistical anomaly of 100% graduation rate can't be legit? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. All right, coming up next on the James Show, we had some fun elections last night in the fact that there's definitely some funny stuff going on. But in this one, the funny stuff going on isn't screwing your candidate out of winning the race. This is an internecine Team Blue hose job that's happening. And just like they did to Bernie Sanders in 2016, just like they did to Bernie Sanders in 2020, just like they kicked Joe Biden out and installed Kamala Harris in 2024, they can't stop screwing over their own candidates. And so it happened last night again. And the ramifications of this aren't going to be known for real until November. But this cannot help the cause. So you'll hear the rundown. Heck, you probably heard this from the other shows you were listening to already today, but you'll get to hear the James Show spin on it. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, we have more election shenanigans to make fun of on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. I know, good to see you too. This is so hilarious. I had such a good time telling Miss Parker about the election shenanigans last night because she wasn't really paying attention. Our kiddos had the first day of school today, and we had some air conditioner shortcomings, so we were a little occupied last night. But this morning, you wake up and you find out what happened last night after we went to bed, and it's more election shenanigans, and it's just delicious because it's not happening to you this time, so we can all get a good laugh at it. It's not as funny when, like 2020, when you go to sleep knowing you had won and you wake up, they're like, jeepers, we found thousands of votes while you were sleeping and it turns out you lost. Okay, well, now that they're doing it to their own team here. Now, there was some suspicion going both ways while the vote was being counted. This is about 10 o'clock at night. NBC News got a new tranche of votes in from one of the counties, and the degree by which this Francesca Hong was winning those votes was not believable. She gained 2,000 votes out of an 18,000 ballot box, which doesn't make any sense, because that means for an election that for most of the county has been going, or most of the state has been going somewhere around 50-50, maybe 55-45 in favor of Hong over the other Democrat that she was battling. But this one, she got 10,000, he got 8,000. It makes no sense.
Okay. Wow. What the heck just came in Brown? Which was that that was huge for her.
Yeah, so that was about 18,000 votes, and she nets 2,000.
Question. Was that
I left the pauses in here to show you how awkward it was.
That wasn't central count, was it?
It's possible. There's no remaining vote in Brown according to our counter. I'll check the website.
I said I want percent more, but now I do, because if that was central count, what was his percentage of that vote?
Let's take a look.
If this was central count, this is the question we're getting at from Milwaukee. If he just got buried in central count Green Bay.
It was 44-34.
Yeah, so not believable. Even the guys that are getting the raw numbers before they have a chance to form a narrative, before they have a chance to form an excuse, are already saying, well, it's really weird. Well, it turns out that about the time midnight rolls around, it looks like this Hong lady, the socialist that hates Thanksgiving, Christmas, football, and probably baby Jesus on top of it, looks like she was going to win. But the Democrat establishment sees the polls that show that if she wins, they're probably going to lose the general in November. They have a better chance of this other guy who had actually already dropped out of the race if he wins. So they came back and they stole it from her. Now, they didn't say it, obviously, but when the election officials come back and they're like, jeepers, we got these USB sticks.
And the results. What we uncovered was that 5 of the sticks had the audit log downloaded and not the results. It's a human error. These things can happen. So basically what we need to do is go back to the operations center and we're going to download out of those 5 machines the results and make sure that's not the audit log. So we have the reports printed from the first download. We're going to reprint and start the process so that we can compare those results. We invite you to come join us. The police department will come with us too. And so we'll re-download those results and then send them back here to be uploaded.
5 machines are at issue?
Correct. Not the machines, the sticks. So the download process was, the audit log was downloaded, not the results.
Out of how many sticks?
9.
And so you will only be reviewing those 5 sticks?
Correct.
But we can't know all of the results, and we can't see these 4 sticks worth of results that were done.
No, shut up. That doesn't make any sense. They stole it. They stole it. My next guest, Chris Putnam from DallasExpress.com. They stole it, didn't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And look, we've seen this over and over and over again in these states that are basically run by Democrats. O'Keefe just did a big expose in Minnesota where they acknowledged it. We saw it in the mayor's race in L.A. where it took a week for the mail-in ballots to come in that showed that that woman had beaten Spencer Pratt. It's just outrageous, and the problem is nobody's policing this. It's why some people are so desperate to get the Save Act passed. Frankly,
well, they keep screwing themselves more than they're screwing the other team, and I don't feel nearly as bad about it because. You know what? If you don't want to listen to the will of your voters, that kind of makes you the bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, there's also a lot of examples where the Democrats, and as you said, the Democrat establishment has rigged elections effectively to ensure that the candidate they prefer is the one that either has the nomination or wins the general election. We've seen that right here in Texas with Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett. As you know, that Colbert stunt that they pulled, which was a total lie, was completely architected by the DNC to be a massive fundraising grab in the last days of early voting and pull him over the line. So they do this all the time. There's Biden, Harris, of course, Bernie Sanders, Clinton. The list goes on and on.
Yeah, so they stewed Bernie Sanders out of the nomination in 2016 and 2020. In 2024, they kicked Joe Biden out after the primaries and just installed a candidate here. They did it to Graham Plattner in Maine, and I don't think people appreciate how weird him getting kicked out was. It wasn't weird that he got kicked out. It was weird that he didn't get kicked out after the first 6 sexual assault allegations and the Nazi tattoo and all the other stuff. But on the 7th sexual assault allegation, they're like, whoa, you've got to get out of here. We can't have someone like that representing our party. And it was the same thing. They knew that he was not going to help them in the general election. And so they just forget what our voters want. We're going to install another guy. And they just did it in Wisconsin.
The other use case you didn't mention was Swalwell in California. That they had known for years about his troubling sexual behavior. And he had them in a very difficult position out there in California, the gubernatorial race. And so they sicked their attack dogs on him in that one. And so that he disqualified himself. They didn't split the vote so Republican could win.
All right. We'll continue talking about the results from last night's important primaries with Chris Putnam from the DallasExpress.com. Oh, yes, the fix is in. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, we had another suspicious election last night. What the results going to be for the rest of us? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Continuing with me is Chris Putnam, CEO of Dallas Express, DallasExpress.com. So when we have the sort of primary season behind us now and we look forward at November with a little bit more clarity, what do you think the likelihood is of the Republicans being able to maintain control of the House and Senate at this point, Chris?
I honestly can't tell you. I think we've talked about this before, James, but both parties have structural issues in this election. It's a little bit odd in that respect. Generally, the party in power has a hard time in this particular midterm, so that's a check mark against the Republicans. Congress has delivered pretty much none of Trump's agenda, particularly as it relates to border security and immigration reform. I mean, we've wasted a second trifecta, so no progress there. And then, of course, what we were just talking about, the SAVE Act. I mean, the Senate's basically recessing again, so they don't have to pick up the SAVE Act and pass it. And so if you're a Republican voter, you're probably really frustrated right now. And that obviously could translate to turnout issues. Now, the thing that could save Republicans in the Democrats' structural problem is that a lot of these candidates are flatly insane. I mean, you can't get more woke than like a James Tallarico, for example, and just all of the insane things that have come out of that guy's mouth. I love trans kids, God is binary, on and on and on. And so a combination of that, just their candidate quality, as well as redistricting, not just redistricting in Texas, but redistricting nationwide could be the thing that saves Republicans in both houses of Congress. Although it's possible that Democrats pick up one or the other.
Well, if they're going to be stuffing ballot boxes, how do they lose?
Well, you got that too.
So, Chris Putnam, I don't think I saw this on your website yet on DallasExpress.com, but other media outlets have picked up on this very scary, dangerous story where a lot of lives are threatened and there's just pain and misery all the way around. Someone spray painted some mean words into a frontage road over in Mesquite, just for the new people joining us.
In the middle of this large road in Mesquite, hate speech spray painted down the center, promoting white supremacy. Wording and historically hateful symbols sprawling down northbound I-635 East Frontage Road. After an anonymous caller tipped off our newsroom, we arrived in Mesquite, immediately met with 5 racist messages. We called the city, who rushed this.
All right. Chris, a lot of people are already saying this is more likely to be a hoax than something real. Is this why y'all haven't reported on it yet?
Of course. And of course, the legacy media is reporting it. This is what they do. I mean, this is what they have done for decades and decades. They rush to promote the fake hate story, even though there's absolutely nothing to establish whether it's true or not. Certainly it's true that somebody wrote, racial hate messages on this bridge. But, WFAA reported this story. You know who their source was and who they sought quotes from? The Southern Poverty Leadership Council.
Southern Poverty Law Center. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Southern Poverty Law Center, who we know definitively pays groups to do just this type of thing, to promote fake hate. And so, I want to see who the suspect is. Show me a suspect.
Yeah.
Let's see who's actually behind this. And we should be asking questions about, well, did they have something to do with this? Or, another NGO-related group. Like, there's no story here. Not until we understand who's behind it, and then there might be one. If it's the head Klansman of Mesquite, we'll be the first ones to report it.
Well, also, if it turns out to be a hoax, are they going to spend 90 seconds at the beginning of their prime time newscast to get the truth out?
Of course not. They'll non-report it.
Okay, first,
non-reporting is a form of censorship. Elon Musk says that all the time, and this is the game they play. What I like to say is they're far more invested in political narrative than actual news.
Well, I mean, for anything that's political, sure. If it's an apartment fire, they're not going to lie about that. If there was, a 5-car pile up on 75 and Legacy, they're probably not going to lie about that. Of course. Or does Legacy even go that far? But here's another thing. They didn't tell you what the messages actually said. And I'm like, well, there must have been either cuss words in there or maybe the big N-bomb in there. The N word wasn't in there. There was no cuss words in there. There was nothing inappropriate about reading these on the air. They just didn't want you to see what it said. It said white power. There was another one that said white power with a swastika. There was another one that said kill all non-whites, which is ugly stuff, but it's not vulgar. And then there was another one that said Jingles is God. What does that mean? Do you have any idea? I mean, you have your finger on the pulse of the Nazi community, Chris. What is Jingles is God?
I couldn't tell you on that one, honestly. I have no context. But I'll use another use case that's contradictory, the Carmelo Anthony case. There certain elements of one community were out there issuing every white hate racial epitaph that you can come up with for a week.
Never made the news.
Did you see that on the news?
No.
Of course not. Of course not.
No. And look, one of the things I was preparing to say is when I find out what it is, I was going to say they spray painted nothing that's more offensive than the latest Jay-Z album, but they didn't even have the N-word out there. So what they painted is probably less. There's not even any racial slurs in it.
I can't say that I know any white supremacists. If I do, I'm unaware of it. But what I can tell you is that who would use the term non-white in a racial hate graffiti episode? Like, it seems like they come up with something a little bit more inflammatory.
Yeah, like the N-word. Like,
right.
Wouldn't racist people use racial slurs?
I mean, again, I don't want to come to any conclusions here. It feels contrived. It doesn't mean it is. We'll see, but we won't report it until we actually understand what happened here.
And I appreciate that, Chris Putnam. All right, so let's talk about preparing for Donald Trump coming to town on September 9th and 10th. Dallas is going to be under the microscope of the political world. We're going to be at the hottest party in the country at that time. But a lot of people feel like the Republicans wouldn't be doing it here if they weren't worried about Tallarico beating Paxton.
That's the biggest race in the country, and the reason nobody has said this explicitly, but it seems clear that does have something to do with or some influence over why they are doing it in Dallas, because that race in particular is the key to the Senate. And they know, of course, that a lot of outside Texas money is flowing in to support Tallarico. And, Ken has had his own problems with certain people in the Republican Party. And the question is, will those folks coalesce and come to the polls? And the biggest challenge, the other biggest structural challenge the Republicans face is a lot of Trump voters simply don't come out and vote when his name is not on the ballot. And this year in particular, Trump's base is somewhat split, as you know, over Israel and Iran. So there's just some crazy, unusual dynamics going on this cycle. But I do believe it's absolutely a factor in it being here in Texas.
So Texas, if somehow, some way, Texas flips to purple, because we're all red now, and if Tallarico wins, we become a purple state. I have a feeling they're going to throw everything at this state for 2028.
Well, they've been doing that for some time, as you know. And look, logic tells you that at some point that, that will change. That, it's been since 1994 that a Democrat won a statewide election. The question is it this cycle with everything that's swirling about that we've already discussed? Is it this guy? It's kind of hard to believe that it's this guy because he's just so far from kind of, your historical Texas political and social values, and that includes folks on the right. He's got, he's just way out there in terms of, the level of wokeness is like a 10 on the wokeness Richter scale. But we'll see. Again, like this is a really tough cycle to predict. There's just a lot of different dynamics going on, and both parties have issues.
All right, that's Chris Putnam. Check him out, DallasExpress.com. He also has a fantastic app, Dallas Express, the app, and follow him on social media. A lot of good stuff there. Thank you, Chris. Coming up next, are the socialists too socialist even for the Democrats? Lessons from last night's election on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, so if Democrats are screwing over the socialist candidates, does that mean Democrats aren't socialist anymore? I'm confused. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Now, I don't think there's really any big ideological push either way on this one. From what you've observed, from what I've observed from the Democrat Party, is they're not really socialists. They're not really communists. I mean, some of them are. But generally speaking, the Democrat Party has turned into something that exists solely for the purpose of gathering and maintaining and expanding their power. That's it. If they have to go socialist to do that, then they will. If they have to screw over socialists, they will. And I think the time it became most obvious to most people that they were doing this was back in 2016. Most of us were here, unless you're just a recent convert to talk radio. You remember back in 2016, Bernie Sanders was running away with it. Bernie Sanders was beating Hillary in all the caucuses, and not all of them, but most of the caucuses and primaries. And he had way more delegates. And then they showed up at the convention. They're like, oh, yeah, but Hillary has these 300 super delegates. Yeah, that's the ticket. Yeah, these ones that nobody voted on. And so the voters in the Democrat primaries and caucuses throughout 2015 during the primary season overwhelmingly wanted, and they made their wishes known at the ballot box. They wanted Bernie Sanders. The Democrat Party establishment didn't let them have Bernie Sanders. They lost anyway. 2020, similar situation. Bernie Sanders was the most popular candidate, but they know, just like in 2016, that if he won the nomination, he was less likely to win the general. So they screwed him out of the election again. So then in 2024, in the primary election season, Democrat voters go out and they say, well, we want Joe Biden. We don't care if he has mashed potato for brains. That's who we want. After that first weird debate, he got jettisoned and they installed another candidate. And so over and over and over, the Democrat Party will let their people vote on the candidates. But if they don't like the result, they won't necessarily honor the will of their voters. And so now you got two questions. Number one, does this mean the Democrat Party has reached peak socialist? And number two, does this give them a better chance of winning in November? To help me handicap this, James Varney's joining us, our buddy from Real Clear Politics. And Varney, first off, I mean, do you agree with the premise that Francesca Hong, you busy there? I need to call back. Okay. Well, is your dog a Democrat socialist just upset about the results last night? Oh, okay. Well, do you think that whole election was on the up and up, or do you feel like a lot of people that was stolen from Francesca Hong by the Democrat establishment so they'd have a better chance of winning in November? The USB sticks, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know much about this Crowley guy at all. I heard he had dropped out. So where do you think this this puts them? If they are going to constantly be snubbing these Democrat socialist candidates, are they going to lose votes because of it? close enough to be stolen. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, we're going to continue with James Varney. Hang on, Varnes. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. We'll continue with James Varney from Real Clear Politics on the results of last night's election and the primaries and what this means for the general. And also, I'm going to get his response to Donald Trump saying, hey, maybe we do call an emergency and institute the SAVE Act. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, you want to spruce up your home, have it looking better than ever, have it better than looking than your neighbors. You don't even like them that much anyway. Have you thought about Rhino Shield? Because Rhino Shield does things that paint can't. Looks just as good as paint, can do all the colors as paint, but it's thicker than paint. It lowers your energy costs. It has an insulation factor. It blocks UV rays, and you can come back in 10, 15, 20 years, and you're not going to see any cracking or flaking or peeling. So you get Rhino Shield, you will be a lot happier than if you stuck with the same old boring paint. In fact, we just don't do that anymore. Paint's for the inside of the house. For the outside, we do Rhino Shield. You don't paint your house, you coat your home. And if you're worried about the cost, they can put it on a low monthly payment. Paint can't do that. So go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Will there be elections shenanigans in November? I'm James Parker. You're listening to The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Remember us for September 9th and 10th. The Republican midterm convention is going to be right here at the American Airlines Center where I'm broadcasting from. Donald Trump will be here September 10th. So on those 2 days, just put it on WBAP like a robot. But listen, I'm continuing with James Varney, my guest from RealClearPolitics.com. And Varney, we've had a lot of questionable elections lately. You know, the mayor of Los Angeles, what happened last night, what happened in 2020. What's your expectation that something weird or questionable is going to happen in November? Okay. Well, they're not even really trying. All right. What I was referring to, Wayne Allen Root was doing an interview with Donald Trump. I believe this was on Friday of last week. And he mentioned the idea of taking some emergency action. And Donald Trump didn't rule it out. And people lost their minds over the weekend. I loved it.
The Supreme Court ruled in 1983 under Reagan that INS versus Chadha, that if you declare a national security emergency as the president of the United States, they can't challenge it. It can only be overturned by a 2/3 vote of both houses of Congress. So if you do this in the next month, we will get photo ID, proof of citizenship, and a limit to mail-in ballots. And
Let me just say that stranger things have happened. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, so Donald Trump says stranger things have happened. So him not ruling it out has a bunch of people with their hair on fire. And this was so funny because yesterday this was brought up, and you remember John Brennan, the former CEI guy who lied about the Hunter Biden laptop and all that stuff. Yeah, he got that, and he was worried because of Donald Trump's statement there. He's thinking, boy, they might cheat and do something shady on election night. This was about 2 hours before the Francesca Hong issue.
I think we also be very worried about what the president might do in order to try to interfere somehow in the integrity of the upcoming midterm elections. He has tremendous authority in terms of the president of the United States, and if he believes that either house is going to shift to Democratic control, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's going to pull out all stops and use, as he says, every tool at their availability. And with the Department of Justice, as well as with the Republican Congress willing to support him, again, I think we have very legitimate reasons to be very concerned and worried.
No, you know what, Varney? I feel like Democrats lecturing Republicans on doing strange shenanigans during election day. That's like Bill Cosby telling you made your margarita too strong. What did Varney? Do you? Okay, so Varney, I get it. About half the country gets it. How do we get to the other half of the country? At some point, you would think that they would realize that, wow, they never have like a busted pipe and they have to stop counting, and a Republican area. They never lose 5 USB flash drives in a Republican primary. Like all of the shenanigans that are happening, the superdelegates, the hidden ballots, it's all happening on one side of the aisle. You think that would wake some people up? Yeah, good point. Good point. All right, good stuff. This is James Varney. What you got on Real Clear Politics and Real Clear Investigations these days? I think my answer for that, I'm already a no on that one, but I look forward to your article. Thank you very much, James Varney, Real Clear Politics. All right, Guns N' Roses World Tour coming to Globe Life Field on September 9th. They can still fill up Globe Life Field, huh? Good for them. Get tickets and information at livenation.com. You can also listen to the WBAP Morning Show this week. Find out how you can win a pair of tickets from my friends in the morning. All right, coming up on the James Show, we have to take a look at what is going on in Dallas City Hall because they are doing some shenanigans there that it's kind of really easy to call out, but it's not really being called out. And also another person in Team Blue got caught up in a plagiarism scandal. There's a lot of these. If you got any questions, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. I know. Good to see you, too. Stop it now. We got to get back to the news. Let's go to another plagiarism story. This was the youngest black professor in Cambridge history busted on a plagiarism scandal. This happens a lot. Remember when Joe Biden got busted for plagiarism like 10 times back in the day? And the Harvard president last year, or maybe year before last, turned out she had plagiarized most of her work back in the day. Well, it seems like to be another one.
I'm Professor of Sociology of Education at the University of Cambridge.
3 years ago, Jason Arday became the youngest ever black professor appointed at Cambridge University, an 800-year-old institution.
Professor Jason Arday joins us now.
He was interviewed about the achievement on CBS News.
If I'm being absolutely candid and honest, not many teachers at school had any belief in me.
Now Arday has fallen from grace, accused of plagiarizing some of his academic writing and lying about claims he ran 600 miles in 6 days to raise money for charity. The scandal's front page news here in the UK.
Hey, stop it. 600 miles in 6 days. Come on, man. Come on. This is Cambridge. This is where, like, smart people are supposed to go get even smarter under the tutelage of the smartest. And you people are like, oh, he ran 600 miles in 6 days. Well, let's hire him. You're an idiot. You're an idiot if you read that and didn't go, well, I don't think that's real. Call me skeptical. Call me racist. But I don't think that's real. Did I hear? Did your ears deceive you?
600 miles in 6 days to raise money.
What? Someone fell for that? Someone at a college faculty in the hiring process fell for that?
Lying about claims he ran 600 miles in 6 days to raise money for charity.
Dude, I don't think I've run 600 miles in my life.
Scandal's front page news here in the UK, and the former professor of sociology of education has now resigned, saying in a statement that it should not be mistaken for an acceptance of the narratives that have surrounded him. Cambridge University says it's launched an investigation. There are now questions about Arday's autobiography, scheduled to be published this month.
Yeah, he said he hit 17 three-pointers in a row, and you're in Kim Jong-un territory, when he's like, Kim Jong-un hit 18 holes in one in a row on a golf course. It's like not even believable. And it's worse than the audio made it sound. Some of the parts of his resume say I attended this university during this time for this internship or for this fellowship or whatever. They actually finally went and followed up. Some of the people in the media went and followed up, and the people on his resume were like, we have no record of him ever going to school here or working here or in a contract with us or in a grant or in a research or even stop by and use the water fountain. We have no record of this dude being associated with this in any way. So the takeaway isn't that these people are dumb. It's that these people are so desperate to fulfill the fantasies of their worldview, their narrative, that they will overlook all of these just blindingly obvious shortcomings and really questionable facts on the guy's resume. You got to look past a whole lot to act like, well, geez, I told you this was an evil, racist, bigoted Western civilization. Look at this young black man here. He's probably one of thousands who have been overlooked just because of just terrible, racist white people, and we've got to fix that injustice. No, the real injustice is there was someone who was probably older and probably of lighter pigment who deserved that job more than he did, and you screwed them over, falling for the lies. That's what really happened. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Now, back here on the local front here, I'm trying to make some sense in this new worldview that is the ascendant, if not the dominant faction of the entire Team Blue Democrat Party machine. And some of it just doesn't make sense. I think I might start a new segment on the James Show called Wisdom from the Nose Ring. And I don't mean nose ring like you got the little stud up there, the one that makes you look like a bull, the septum piercing. I think I'm just going to start giving you random wisdom from people with the bull ring in their nose. Here's a good example. This looks like a nice young lady, probably 20, maybe 25, sort of looks college age. She's cute. She's not visibly repulsive. She's not wildly overweight. She has nice hair. She's wearing nice clothes. She's wearing makeup. She looks decent. She does have the bull ring, the septum piercing, and the stuff that comes out of her mouth. I mean, I thought about this for an hour, and it still doesn't make any sense. Give me a call if this makes sense to you.
Before I became Mexican, I was gay. I know that may be kind of hard for some people to hear, but honestly, being gay is a pipeline to becoming Mexican. A lot of people may already know this. Some of you may not know this, especially if you're not Mexican. We do go through this conversion where it's kind of a sort of metamorphosis where we're normal, then we're gay, then we're Mexican.
What?
And I just wanted to say I don't regret it. I'm very proud of my choice and my decision. I think if I had to go back and change anything, I wouldn't change a thing. And I'm just here to advocate for all the gay Mexicans or the former gays that are now Mexican. So thank you for listening, and have a great day, and thank you so much.
The Mexican to gay pipeline. Is that behind Taco Bell? Is that where that is? I missed that one. Does that make sense to anybody? Because she recorded that. And she's like, yeah, that's 47 seconds of genius. Let me go ahead and post that for all the world to see and scrutinize. I don't know. I guess I got a lot more growing up to do, y'all. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, another local controversy where a local restaurant, great local restaurant, I heard nothing but good things about it, is being dragged under the bus on social media for racism. Now, do I think it's racism? Absolutely not. Some other patrons had reported people were smoking weed in the bathroom. So the restaurant kicked them out, and now they're, of course, Klansmen, of course. You'll hear it next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, Texas homeowners, James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. And listen, if you're worried about, you'd like to get Blue Ribbon to come help you out with your roof, but you live really far out in the sticks. Hey, I know what that's like. I live way out in the sticks, and Blue Ribbon Roofing actually came out to Bug Tussle. That's right. To do the free roof inspection. He drove all the way out there. His truck made it. You know, it's pretty far. But no, it doesn't matter how far out you are. If you can hear this on the broadcast feed, you're not too far away. Now, if you're listening to this on some app on your phone and you're on the other side of the planet, of course we can't help you with the roof. But for the most part, anybody that's covered by the WBAP listening area, and that is a strong signal. I'm talking like all the way down to Austin, over to College Station, back up to Bug Tussle, circle around to the bottom of Oklahoma there. If you are in that circle, if you are in the WBAP area, you are in the Blue Ribbon Roofing area. So do not let your distance stop you from getting the free roof inspection, because it's a family company. And not only do they do a great roof, not only can they help you with your insurance paperwork and make sure that claim goes as good as it possibly can, you'd be helping a brother out. They've been supporting the James Show. They've been solid, and so you owe them. The reason the James Show is free is because Blue Ribbon's paying your bill. So next time you need a roof, give them a call. Go to blueribbondfw.com. Hey, I think you'd like to talk about this viral video. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. There's a restaurant in Dallas called Maroma. I've never been there, but Dallas Express did a write-up on them last year. It was glowing. Kind of want to go. Now I feel like going just so I can support them a little bit. We have a situation, and the situation is this. It's a busy day. It's August 9th, so just 3 days ago this was posted. And it's a busy day. And some people who were sitting by the bathroom started smelling weed. And the smell was so significant, so substantial, that the guests who were sitting by the bathroom asked if they could move to another area. And so the witnesses and people who saw what was going on told the manager, yeah, we're pretty sure it was that table over there. And so the manager went over, sniffed the bathroom. Good God, it reeked of weed. Smells like Willie Nelson's birthday party over there. And so they didn't go over and kick out the party that's accused of smoking the weed. They just said, listen, we're going to cut you off from alcohol sales. And they're like, what for? Well, it's reported that you guys are smoking weed in the bathroom, and we, knowing that, we're really not allowed to continue selling you alcohol because Texas law prohibits selling alcohol to an intoxicated person. Now, they didn't go into this level of detail, but this is the thought process behind the manager, and I'll play you the viral video here. But I've worked in bars. I've worked in restaurants. The TABC tells you got to cut off people if they appear intoxicated. If they're already drunk, you can't serve them. If they're on some other intoxicant, you can't serve them. If they're irate, like if they're not calm, you're not allowed to serve them. So here now, finally, is the exchange. And I want to thank them for not cussing, because this was posted by Andrea Chantel. She posted this video on August 9th. This was just part of the conversation. While the four people are sitting at the booth, the manager comes up, and this is the exchange. Again, thank you so much for not cussing. That makes my job easier, but here it is.
So you're saying you can't serve us because of why?
I can't smell you. I can't serve you because I smelled it when.
Do you smoke?
You came into the.
Do you smoke? Do you smoke? I don't smoke.
I can only go off of.
You're going off of what? You're going off of what? You're going off of what's your name? What's your name? Tell me your name. And you're discriminating.
I'm not.
We do not smoke. No one here smokes. So now you can't serve us because we smell like smoke?
I'm coming to you and telling you that I can't serve because I can smell marijuana and I won't be serving in another alcohol beverage. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so the words on the video, the caption that she put on the video, very inflammatory here. Dallas, Texas is segregated. You know what? Stop it. You got to play the race card here. 17 million people have seen this video. 71,000 comments on this video. Really? So you're telling me that there's random people in a restaurant who, not even knowing you, will lie about you and where the marijuana smell is coming from just to get you kicked out of a restaurant? Based on what? Based on anti-black, black antipathy? Anti-black racism? Really? So they would rather whoever's really smoking weed in the restaurant to get away with it? Or maybe they wouldn't smoke weed on the restaurant and they just blamed it on the black people because white people are so evil. If you're worried about the mistreatment of black people, getting kicked out of a restaurant for burning a heater in the handicap stall, that's nothing compared to the shootings and the stabbings and the rapings and the robbings and the muggings and the arson and the beatings and the domestic violence and the abuse that is happening within your own community. Like, if this isn't your biggest problem, this isn't in the top 10 of your problems, this isn't in the top 100 of your problems, but look how much attention it gets. Look at how much these people are falling all over themselves to comment on this and highlight this and say, see, we sure do have a problem with hateful white people, and I'm tired of it. This doesn't help white people. This doesn't help black people. This doesn't help anybody. This doesn't bring us together. This doesn't bring about peace. You know what? Even if you are falsely accused, would this be your reaction? Do you smoke? Do you smoke? She's asking the other three people at the booth, and they're all saying no. Oh, what are they going to do? Just fess up and be like, yeah, doing drugs in the bathroom. You got us. You know, if someone really is just racist and hateful, would you have to make a stretch like this? I mean, she's not coming over here saying, dropping N-bombs, kicking them out. They let you in the first place. They served you in the first place. They were polite to you in the first place. Now you're going to say that they're racist when they kick you out? You know, this is so sad and pathetic and lame. The efforts to keep racism or the fantasy of racism alive in modern day America. When you and I both know that of all the problems in America, racism isn't in the top 100. But I love reading the comments here because the comments show the tribalism. The same people that went and donated $600,000 to Carmelo Anthony's defense team, which that didn't go to defense at all, so he could get away with murdering a white kid. Oh, they're in the comment section over here. Nikisha says, how does she know it wasn't the people next to y'all? Because they watched him walk out of the bathroom. In fact, we're told that the women went into the men's bathroom specifically so they could share together. And look, some of these are interesting. Some of them say you should sue. You should sue who for what? You should sue this restaurant for racism? What are you supposed to do? Are you just not allowed to kick a black person out of your restaurant for any reason if you're a white person? Because you'll be accused of racism no matter what. And the ugly part is for the little bit of racism that is in America, I'm not saying it's 100% gone. All these false accusations are the boy crying wolf. And when real racism does show up, we're all going to be skeptical. You know, one day, Jussie Smollett really is going to get beat up. One day, there really is going to be some angry white person that's drawing swastikas all over the place, and it's not a hoax. And it's going to be really hard to believe them because of all the trifling, lame, weak sauce accusations that have been thrown around your entire life. And the comment section will break your heart. Norma says, this is straight up racism. Ashley says, I can confirm this is what it's like being black in Dallas. Ocean Girl, is she saying she smells like weed and won't serve you alcohol or won't serve you at all? All right. A bunch of people are asking to sue. Sue for what? Hey, I demand the right to smoke weed in your bathroom without being kicked out. 800-288-9227. Whose side are you on here? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Oprah's on The View. You know, is going to be nothing but brain surgery, rocket science, and other assorted genius takes. She's getting dragged through the mud for her comments on obesity. I think I understand what she's saying. And even though Oprah is that slanders this country and white people and our culture and Western civilization and whatnot, she's not a completely bad person. In fact, Oprah kind of seems like a pretty nice person. If not for her politics, you know, you would probably enjoy hanging out with her for an evening at the bar. But let me see how this runs by you. I'll give you my take and you see if this matches up with you, because she's getting ripped for saying overeating doesn't cause obesity. Obesity causes overeating. And while it's a sloppy way to put it, I think I can explain this one.
All these years, I thought I was overeating. I was standing there with all the food noise, what I ate, what I should eat, how many calories was that, how long was it going to take. I thought that was because of me and my fault. Yeah. Now I understand that if you carry the obesity gene, if that is what you have, that is what makes you overeat. You don't overeat and become obese. Right. Obesity causes you to overeat. Right. Obesity causes you to have all of that food noise. And what the GLP-1s have done for me, and I know a number of other people, is to quiet that noise.
Yeah. I think there is probably...
All right, so let's break that down. She thinks that there's a gene that causes obesity. Now, I don't think that she means if you have this gene, you're going to be fat no matter what. I don't think anybody thinks that. But what it does is, if you were able to listen to the full segment, there's a gene that makes you think about food more, that makes you crave food more, that makes you compelled or interested in food more. Now, that is totally believable because you and your siblings, even though you have a similar genetic makeup, you guys have totally different interests. Some of you are overeaters, some of you aren't. Some of you are really sporty, some of you aren't. Some of you are very musically inclined, some of you are more violent, some of you are more pacifist, some of you cry a lot, some of you are very stoic. So I get that. And I get it that sometimes people have a metabolism that just doesn't process food efficiently so they can eat all they want and still not get fat. And that's not fair, and that's why they're skinny. But I feel the Oprah worldview goes too far because there is sort of comfort in jettisoning your personal responsibility for your size and just being able to say, "Oh, it's my genes." Yes, there's nothing wrong with me and my lack of discipline and controlling how much food and calories I put into my face versus how much I move, because that's a real hard thing for a narcissist to admit. Now, Oprah very well may be a narcissist or partial on the narcissist spectrum of some sort. And most Hollywood showbiz people are, most talk radio show hosts are. I have some narcissism that flares up every once in a while. Rightfully so. Makes me a better talk show host. But the inability of self-criticism shows up in instances like this, because if Oprah admits that, yeah, she may be a little more interested in food, genetically speaking, that sugar may taste a little bit better for her, or her brain waves may be a little more attuned to seeking out food and resources, she still has to be able to look around at some of her neighbors and realize some of them probably have the same gene or at least similar issues, but they have better discipline. For the people that are for real in shape, for the people that watch their diet, they cram protein, they avoid sugar, they do both heavy lifting and they do cardio. A narcissist has a hard time looking at that and saying, well, I'm fat and they're beautiful because they have better discipline than me. They have better work habits than me. They have better eating habits than me. They work harder than me. I am fat and they are skinny because I am lazy and I like to stuff my face and I eat with a shovel. Now, I don't expect a whole lot of people to be that brutally honest with themselves. But this whole genetic excuse for obesity, that's what it is. It is the offlifting of personal responsibility. And that is something you see over and over on Team Blue. When you talk about like the difference in socioeconomic attainment between different races, It's really hard for some people to say, well, maybe this other group of people is behaving better. Maybe they're better disciplined. Maybe they're better at family formation. Maybe they study more. Maybe they work harder. Maybe they work more hours. Maybe they develop more skills. Maybe they spend less time in these other not helpful behaviors, like recreationally using drugs or getting caught up in gang fights or skipping school or not raising your kids. The ability of self-criticism is crucial, though, if you ever want to fix yourself. Now, Oprah gets a break. She didn't have to fix herself. GLP-1s came along and she could just take a shot and that whole thing goes by the wayside. But the part that I am partial to is I can understand how some people can eat the same amount of food as other people and gain more weight than other people. But that doesn't mean anything is flawed with you if you're the weight gainer. That means actually your metabolism's really efficient. Just because somebody else's body can't produce food and process it into fat as fast as you can, that's actually a shortcoming with them. Evolutionarily speaking, that is not a good metabolism to have if you want to, last through famines and starving and winters and ice ages. But I just felt like that really tied together the whole politics. No. You're not doing something wrong. This is a legacy of slavery. Or no. You're not in the boardroom in Fortune 500 companies, not because of your lack of educational attainment or your abilities. It's because of systemic racism, or it's because of misogyny, or it's because of Christian bigotry. Just everything but personal responsibility. And I feel like this is kind of part of it too. But I get what she was saying. If you have that gene, if you have that worldview, if you have that disposition, that's what's going to cause you to overeat. If you're overeating to cure your depression, if you're overeating to cure some sort of, hole in your soul, it's not the fat that's causing you to eat. It's the eating that's causing you to get fat. I think I understand about half of that. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we're going to check in on Gen X, see if they're okay. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Remember the WBAP morning show when you wake up. That's part of your morning routine. You just wake up, you put on WBAP. And look, if you have a smart TV, whatever app that you listen to WBAP on, you can put that on your smart TV and listen on the TV. Because I know for a lot of people, when you're getting ready in the morning, you're walking around doing stuff. So watching the TV doesn't do you any good. Having the TV show, if you have it on the radio show, then you don't have to watch the TV. We'll give you everything audio only, so you can still be curling your hair, putting on your makeup, or wrangling the kiddos. But I have a few fun things I want to cram into this last segment here. And a lot of it is going to be sort of organized around our generation. First, Marco Rubio tried the keto diet. We were just talking about Oprah and dieting. He said it didn't work for him.
I did at one time, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I tried this thing called keto. You've heard of it?
Yeah, keto.
Okay? And you just eat all this protein. And so you go through this massive withdrawal from sugar and carbohydrates for the first 72 hours. It was a near psychotic event for me.
It's true.
If I did this in this job, I would be, Mr. President, we must bomb, Paraguay. And it's like, why? I don't know. I'm just really mad I haven't had any sugar. So the point is that you can't, it really is not I'm not against this diet. I'm not asking that we ban it. I encourage people to try it. I'm just saying it's not for everyone.
I don't think any diets are for me. I have this diet where I just run around and eat whatever I want. It's pretty nice. I mean, look, I do have some guardrails. I am aware, I have to avoid just pure sugar. So instead of having Dr. Pepper, I'll have a Dr. Pepper Zero. And that's about the extent of my dietary discipline. But I do work out primarily so I can eat like trash and I don't end up having the body shape of Grimace from the Happy Meal box. Because, I got to go home to Miss Parker. And if I get any uglier than I am right now, I can't even stand next to her.
Hi, Miss Parker.
I already look like Shrek standing next to her. I can't make it worse. But if you're about my age, I think you would appreciate this next lady, Kelly Mano. She makes great viral video content online, usually circling around the issues with my generation, Generation X. And she's really good at answering questions from other generations, sometimes boomers, but it's usually a millennial, Gen Z, or maybe an alpha, who are asking questions. And she's sort of become our spokesman. Because if you're not familiar with Gen X, we just don't like to answer questions. We don't like a whole lot of attention. We don't bring it up. We don't answer surveys. We don't answer polls. We're not writing blogs and whatever about us. We're not trying to get any attention. We haven't had a Gen X president now, and we're not griping about it. In fact, if it goes from Trump to J.D. Vance, they're just going to go straight from the boomers to the millennials. We're not even going to have a Gen X president. We don't care. Just leave us the hell alone.
Is Gen X okay? No, seriously, are you guys okay?
What kind of stupid question is that? We're fine. We got 900 TV channels and Prozac. Our kids are grown or almost grown, and our parents are either dead or too old to threaten to kill us every day. I brought you into this world. I could take you out of it. Our boomer parents could turn anything violent. Hey, Dad, can I get a paper towel? I'll paper your towel. We didn't have anti-bullying campaigns. Our parents bullied us. If we got hurt, really hurt, our parents were pissed. Our parents would leave us places all the time. They'd forget us at the store, and there's no way to get a hold of them. So you just have to sit there and hope they came back for you. The school had to take our pictures and fingerprint us in case we got kidnapped. We were 30 years old when we were 12. Already smoking cigarettes, drinking our parents' liquor. We are older than Google. We spent 30 years taking a dump without a cell phone, and no one had to tell us not to eat laundry detergent. So yeah, we're okay. We're okay.
Comedian Derek Stroop wants to remind you how brutally awful our games were as kids in the 90s.
The games in the 90s were insane. It's because we didn't have internet yet. I can remember growing up, I'd ring people's doorbells and take off and jump in the ditch. It felt like drugs, y'all. I'd ring 3 or 4 doorbells. I'd be sitting in a ditch and I'd be like, I'm a gang member now. I got the whole subdivision upside down right now.
And then there's this crazy story that came out of a football practice where a snake was in a football helmet. Now, when I first heard this story, how could a guy put on a football helmet and not know there's a snake in there? Well, I saw finally a picture of what it looked like. And if you've ever seen the inside of a football helmet, there's a bunch of pads in there. Well, the snake had gotten up under the pads and was going in the little crevices between the pads and the helmet. So the guy never had the snake really touching his head directly. He could only kind of tell if the snake moved, he would feel it through the padding. So the snake wasn't touching his head. But the point still stands that some poor bastard had a venomous snake in his football helmet at football practice, and he wore it.
How about snake in the helmet? A 2-foot-long, highly venomous cottonmouth snake somehow slithered its way into an Arkansas high school football player's headpiece. You can see it here hiding behind the inner padding. But guys, the player practiced for an hour with it stuck up there before he started noticing the horrifying feeling around his head. This is a closer look. Apparently, one of the coaches spotted it when he brought in his helmet for an inspection during that practice. Eventually, school staff secured it in a tote bag until animal services came to take it away.
Look, I know there's the stereotype of the dumb jock, but I'm just imagining some big, dumb, hay-fed, corn-fed Arkansas boy going, "Coach, I don't know what's wrong with my football helmet. It just keeps hissing at me, won't sit still." How do you not know? Also, something that I want you to think about. When you look at a chicken, not a live chicken, but a chicken that's been prepared to eat, one you buy at the grocery store, already has all the wings plucked off, already has the head chopped off. It's just ready for you to rotisserie. And you look at the wings. It's these little bitty arms compared to the rest of the animal, right? Well, doesn't that kind of look like a T-Rex with the tiny arms? And if that's the case, then why don't we just assume the T-Rex doesn't have tiny arms, but they have wings? But if a T-Rex had wings, wouldn't it then be a dragon?
I just think the whole theory is kind of dumb, and I'm going to use this whole chicken to prove my point, so stay with me for a minute. You would never look at a chicken in this state and assume that when it was alive, it looked like this, because this is anatomically ridiculous. We know that the chicken didn't have these little nubbies. There was obviously like a wing attached here at some point, because that would make sense. So why are we applying that same logic to the T-Rex? Do we really think that this massive apex predator was just running around with his little nubs? Like, y'all really looked at the T-Rex and couldn't think of anything else this animal could possibly be? No, just a giant reptile with his little nubs. Like, it's ridiculous. This doesn't make any sense. But you know what does make sense is this. This makes way more sense to me, so I need somebody to explain to me right now why a T-Rex is not a dragon. Okay, why is it that every animal in the zodiac is a real animal except for the dragon? Listen, that's a conspiracy. You sound so dumb right now. You sound dumb. You sound dumb with your little nubby arm theory. So we can have our differences of opinion, but I think you're wrong. That is so obviously a dragon. So if you want to keep your little nubby arm theory, you freaking go for it. I'm going to be in Whimsy World 100% believing in dragons.
Oh, great. I believe in dragons now. All right, that's going to do it for The James Show. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.